Scream 6, all the spoilers. Yep, here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome to Scream 6, all the spoilers. Boy, this was a tough spoiler-free review to do because I really couldn't tell you the big, I guess the meat of the things that I didn't like about this movie. I kind of had to walk around everything. And so it was interesting looking at all the comments. And by the way, guys, I swear, for my out of the theater reaction and then the non-spoiler review, over 500 comments each. Wow. This movie has a lot of people talking, a lot of people speculating. And what I was saying was, like, in the comments, I noticed a lot of you seemed like kind of vague about, or I was kind of being vague about what I didn't like, And again, it's just because I couldn't really tell you too much because this movie was just filled with so much, spoilerific type stuff. It's Scream. Of course, you're going to have that. But even more so, I think, in this movie, because of the trailer, because of them showing all those ghost face, the shrines and everything, this looked to be something bigger, something more epic. I guess, like Halloween, you're going to have fans that are overly passionate about this franchise, as am I, about this franchise, about Halloween, all those. You do get some kind of ornery, mean comments in there. I was called a fake fan because I didn't like this movie. I was called a few things, Most of you were very, very respectful, very, very kind. But sometimes the ugliness really comes out in those comments and you just kind of have to look past it. What the fuck is a fake fan anyway? I like pretty much all the Scream movies. I've even stated that the Scream franchise is easily the most consistent. There's not really a dud in the bunch. And before I dive into the spoilers in this movie, guys, yes, I gave this a negative review. I even gave it a rotten rating, because I'm looking at it as a movie. But is it Seed of Chucky? Hell no, guys. Hell no. Are there some fun moments in Scream 6? Yes, there are. And there's some definite pros. I think my biggest thing is the disappointment and what could have been, So that's the big thing. Obviously, this is a spoiler review, so don't watch this if you haven't seen this movie yet. All right, I urge you not to. And also, let's talk about that leak. Yes, I was given that leak probably about a dozen times. I had some people, after they, the same people spoiled it to me, they felt like spoiling it again. I mean, I already know the first time, so what does that do if you tell me the same thing over, twice? I don't know. Maybe you just want to dig it in. I knew about the ending of the movie. I knew that it was Dermot Mulroney's character, and I knew that it was Ethan, the son. At least that's what was told. I didn't actually know about the daughter. And I'll say this too, I didn't know that this was Richie's family, okay? So I guess in a way, there still was some information in there that I didn't know, which was nice. But it's hard for me to say if this movie was predictable because, I knew all the way that Dermot Mulroney was the killer. But I will say, as I'm watching this, you can kind of cancel out so many things that it really shines through that this is probably going to be the killer. Again, I knew that, so it was hard for me to say that's predictable and unfair. I can't really do that. So I guess that would be my question to you guys in the comments is, did you call this movie pretty early? I will say, though, there was one line of dialogue in the movie that I said, ooh, that's probably a red flag. And it was early in the movie when Dermot Mulroney's character, Detective Bailey, he's questioning, I believe it's Sam and Tara, and, he's talking about the possible suspects. And he says, well, Ethan can't, we got to cancel him out because he's my son. And right away I was like, oh boy, from a writing standpoint, you don't want to say something that glaring because then your audience, if they are, savvy, they're going to say, they said that for a reason. And that means he could be the killer. He's probably the killer. So to me, that was definitely a big, big red flag. Do you agree with me on that, or did you just kind of look right past that? You know, again, I can't really say if it was predictable because I knew going in. But we're gonna dive more into the big reveal, I guess, at the end of this video. Okay, let's start with Samara Weaving. And I will mention some pros along the way if I stumble upon them. Starting with that opening and Samara Weaving, I think this was a character. She's supposed to be this professor. She teaches like a class on slasher movies, so she knows all the rules and everything. And then she's going on this blind date with this guy that she hasn't met in person yet. And he's kind of talking her into this alley. And this is the beginning of the movie, and right away I'm just like, she's in New York City, a very dangerous place. Is she really that dumb that she's literally gonna, like, why doesn't she say, I'm here, why don't you just come to me? Any attractive young female is going to know better than to go in that alley, okay? And by the way, guys, I'm not going to nitpick this movie to death. That's not the problem with this movie, is nitpicky type stuff, all right? I'm the guy that can overlook what some might call, you know, nitpicks in a movie and still enjoy it. But sometimes it's so glaring that it can become off-putting. Now, jumping into a thing I really liked was that she was attacked and then the killer revealed his face. And immediately I was like, oh shit, we've never done this before. This is really cool. I like this. And it was revealed to be this college student named Jason. So this is a very different type of intro, but I do have a problem with it, and that involves Samara Weaving. Samara Weaving is just a very talented actress who likes to dig in and kick ass, and we've seen her in movies like Ready or Not, like The Babysitter, and this is just the type of actress that plays characters that you want to watch just completely kick ass. So I think I would have preferred to have her, you know, maybe have a little bit of a longer intro, stand up for herself, and you know, I guess you're in New York City in this alley. There's a chance to have a great chase or something like that, and still have the same outcome. But it was just really quick. But anyway, we're in this apartment, this character Jason. We know that he's a massive fan of Ghostface and Ghostface history and everything, and him and his roommate, they want to kill. And I guess he just, you know, he couldn't wait, so he made his first kill. But then he gets killed by our main Ghostface. I actually love that. Great intro. And I'll say this too, guys. I think if the ending of this movie would have been bigger, would have been better, you know, would have been so much more satisfying, then I would have gladly given this movie at least a high humdrum, or maybe like a low purchase worthy, despite some of the problems. But it's because of that last act that it starts to really, really nosedive for me. Throughout the rest of this video, you're gonna see a lot of instances, in my opinion, of bad writing, okay? And I'd like to call this portion of the review personal preference versus bad writing, because I did see a few comments in my non-spoiler review where people were saying you're just mad because they didn't do what you wanted to do, which I never once said that in that review. Never once. I stated bad writing. As a matter of fact, I am not for personal preference when it comes to watching a movie. I like to be surprised. I like great writing. I like not knowing what's around the corner. So for anybody to state that I'm mad because they didn't do what I wanted them to do is just completely ludicrous. I'd say many, if not most, of the movies that I love had a lot of surprises, and my wants had nothing to do with them. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the core four, because that was kind of a big thing in this movie. And I think the reason they're doing that is because they're trying to say we've already gotten rid of Dewey. Sydney is not in this movie. And by them stating core four, they're trying to state, hey, these are our new characters, like it or not. So we need to try to make the audience love them a lot more, you know, so that way we don't really need the three legacy characters. And to be fair, I've always stated that I don't really, you know, need Gail, Dewey, and Sydney. Even though they are all three great characters, I think at this point we needed to at least kill one of them. I think for the most part, they kind of succeed in terms of making us like them. I thought Chad had a lot of potential coming off of 5, especially with rewatches of 5. He's a very charismatic character. I was hoping for a lot more with him in this movie. And he's definitely in the movie. They try to build this relationship between him and Tara, which is nice. I think that's kind of cool. So then ultimately, later in the movie, he gets completely obliterated, you know, stabbed to death. He's held by 2 ghost faces, and they are just, I guess what I like to call jackhammer knifing. And that's one of my issues with this movie. Yeah, it's a Scream movie. Most of the kills are going to be stabs. They're trying to say that this is the most graphic Ghostface ever. That's true, but it's definitely not the most creative. And the way they make it graphic is jackhammer knifing. You know, just super fast knifing, and kind of like what Sam actually did in the last movie and in this movie. But yeah, Chad, he just gets obliterated. So at this point, I'm like, okay, they are actually going for it. They are actually killing one of the core 4. I think this is good. You know, this is really good. We'll get to what happens later, I guess later. Mindy is, I think, a lesser version in this movie than what she was in the previous movie. I think she's trying a little bit too hard to be the new Randy, and they kind of shoehorn in this section where she's giving the new rules. Now we're in a franchise, okay? And so that means legacy characters, we don't need them anymore. So there's a good chance they're gonna die. And the core characters, because this is a franchise, and you know, take movies like Friday, Nightmare, Halloween, a lot of times those characters, they only last 1 or 2 movies, you know, and there's so many examples of this, like, you know, like Alice from Nightmare. So Mindy states, you know, this is a franchise, so there's a good chance that somebody's going to die. Then jump over to Gail. By the way, guys, this was probably my favorite scene in the movie. The big showdown between Gail and Ghostface. It was a knockdown, drag-out fight. I liked seeing our legacy character kicking ass. And I will say up front, I didn't think they were going to kill Gail, you know, because they already killed Dewey in the last one. Sydney's not there, so I think they would piss off a lot of fans, so it'd be safer to keep her alive. But she pretty much loses the fight and is near death. So for a second, I thought they were going to kill her. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that, you know, our core 4, and then you got Gail, so that's 5, right? Every single one of those characters was at least stabbed multiple times, and a couple of them were stabbed to quote-unquote death. You know, like they should have been dead. Every single one of them lived. Every single one of them. I think I wouldn't have had a problem with that if one of them kind of, you know, had some punch marks, some scars, but to literally be stabbed and the knife twisted, and then to see Chad roll out on the gurney at the end of the movie, and I swear my eyes rolled in the back of my head like, are you fucking kidding me? After all that, he lived, and then you guys are trying to say that Stu could not live? That's another story. Okay. This annoyed the shit out of me about this movie, guys. How it tries to build all these rules and then it doesn't abide by them. Okay, so now we're going to talk about that big reveal. But before I get into that, just another fun comment that I got from so many people was, you liked Halloween Ends, so I can't take your opinion seriously. By that logic, you freaking morons, you're talking as if film is not subjective, as if film has no nuance. You're talking as if those who like Halloween Ends, and there's quite a few people that do like Halloween Ends, that they're maybe not going to like the new script. I don't know what you're trying to say, honestly. Apply any movie, not just Halloween Ends, but by this logic, it is so one-dimensional when movies are anything but one-dimensional. And it's all opinions. Okay, jumping into the third act, we come into this shrine, and let me say, guys, this looks epic. You know, setting-wise, this is the coolest place to hold a third act in a Scream movie. So it has the potential to be the best. So my first question is, all this evidence, you know, all this evidence from all the previous movies, how in the hell is this all acquired? I guess we're supposed to believe that Richie somehow acquired all this over the years. It's not that easy to acquire police evidence, especially when it's in different districts. You know, this isn't all in Woodsboro. You know, part 3 took place in Hollywood. Part 2 was in a different college. So to acquire all this stuff, and then knowing that Bailey, the detective, was the killer in this movie, I thought for sure, okay, this guy's going to come across as, you know, he knows how to handle himself. He's a badass. He's a cop. He's a detective. And to me, it felt like nothing against Dermot Mulroney. I'm a fan of his work, but this character didn't come across as super cop, you know? And to be able to pull off what they are trying to pull off takes a lot of skill, and more importantly, takes some really great writing. And I think this is one of those situations where we just are to assume and I guess put the pieces together ourselves. And I don't need everything explained to me as far as logistically how in the hell all that evidence is acquired. But at least leave me some breadcrumbs so I can easily kind of figure out, okay, yeah, they were able to do this and this and this, and that led to them getting all. But no, we're just supposed to assume it. Also, this was another family drama type deal. You know, Richie's family, they're all pissed off, and so it's the father and his 2 kids. And I think sometimes when you have too many, they kind of cancel each other out, and that's what the situation was here, because Ethan, what do we know about this kid? Throughout the whole movie, they kept saying, you can't be the killer because, you know, you're the quiet, nerdy kid. This was just a very one-dimensional character, Ethan. So we knew nothing really about this guy. And so when he is revealed to be the killer, there's really no interest in him. And then I guess same thing goes for his sister. All we know about her is that she, you know, she's promiscuous. She likes to sleep around. She's like any other college student. So really, these 3 people, this whole family, yeah, I guess it's cool that they're trying to up the stakes. Now we got 3 killers, really 5 if you include the first 2. Not a single one of them can hold a candle to most of the previous killers. You know, as much as we give movies like Scream 3 a lot of shit, I think the third act of these movies is orchestrated much better. And you know, Scream movies, they are what we like to call Scooby-Doo movies, Scooby-Doo endings. But this is taking that type of ending to another level. It is silly. It's ridiculous. Oh, and then also we got Kirby back. And guys, I was completely over the moon about the return of Hayden Panettiere. Kirby is one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. And she's an FBI detective. And for her to not be able to put the pieces together and figure out who Richie's family is, because I guarantee you an FBI agent would be able to figure out that type of stuff. She'd be able to trace back those breadcrumbs from the previous crimes, and she'd easily be able to find out who Richie's parents are. So there's no way she wouldn't have been able to figure out that it was Detective Bailey. But really, I think the big thing with Kirby too, aside from the fact that she's not a very good FBI agent, is that also she's supposed to be like one of us. And yeah, I know she has grown, you know, this is years and years later, but still, you know, we're all horror fans, and we're gonna be horror fans until we die. And there's just one little scene where she's kind of having a back and forth with Mindy, which was cool. But outside of that, we didn't really see that gusto, that confidence that we saw in Kirby in Scream 4. But they do try to point the finger at her, and it's obviously not her. But I am glad that she did live. Okay, I will say that, because I would love to see Kirby going forward. So guys, I am definitely going to give this another watch. I'm gonna go probably see it this Sunday for a second time to see if maybe I like it a little bit better. I mean, the problems I have, I don't think are gonna change. You know, they're pretty concrete the way they are, but maybe I'll get a little bit more enjoyment out of the movie. We'll see. I'm hoping I will. I will say, to be fair, Scream 5, even though I gave it a higher rating than I did this movie, Scream 5, I think I gave it just a middle of the road. I think 3.5 out of 5, maybe. Something like that. Maybe even just 3 out of 5. But I did come around to that movie a little bit more. Just a little bit. And I did come around to the third act in that movie. I'm hoping that happens with this one. Like I said, this does have some, you know, the setting is so much better. It's one of the coolest settings out of all the Scream movies. So I think that's one reason why I was just so disappointed. My anticipation for this movie was higher than pretty much any other Scream movie. And to fall that far, I think, was just a gut punch for me. And I will say this about the third act too. Because of that shrine, because of how epic this looked, I didn't necessarily think that Stu was going to be the killer, but man, after watching this, that would have been so much more satisfying. Just because if Stu would have been the ringleader and, you know, he had this whole organization going on, it would have fit in with how epic the shrine was and all that. But, you know, Instead, they gave us this another family drama type thing that are pissed off, and somehow they're able to acquire all this evidence. And I just wasn't buying it. This movie made me realize that Sydney is definitely missed. I did miss her in this movie. Not to take anything away from Sam and Tara. I still liked them very much. I think part 7 has the chance to be very good, but the writing, I just did not like the writing in this movie. I thought the writing was pretty bad, and it's no Kevin Williamson. So anyway, guys, that's my spoiler review for Scream 6. Again, looking forward to giving it another watch, but let me know down in the comments your thoughts on this movie. Are you going to give it a second watch? I'm sure a lot of you are. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Fever Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.